All right, I hope you did your bell work. So we are on the last part 4 of our genetics notes. And this last part is called sex-linked inheritance. Now before, in the last part, we talked about linked genes. That means that they're on the genes that are on the same chromosome. So they're going to be inherited by, I was going to say donated by, I guess it's the same thing, by one parent, okay? So this determines whether you get a gene, a trait for something that is either on the X chromosome from your mom, or the Y chromosome from your dad if you're a boy, or the other X chromosome from your dad. Because remember, it's the sperm that determine whether you are a boy or a girl when you're born, biologically. So, because the dad can make 50% of his sperm can be Y, 50% can be X from his mom and dad. And the mom, 50% of her eggs will be X and the other are X. They're all 100% X, right? Because that's what a girl is, 2 X's, okay? So this is a pattern of heredity in which traits are transmitted by genes located, again, on the sex chromosomes. The 23rd pair out of the 46 total, right? The 23rd pair of chromosomes is called the sex chromosome, and they're down here. So obviously that would be a girl. Whoa. Okay. Yeah, equals sex chromosomes. Okay. So any traits on those genes are considered X-linked traits on the X chromosome. So here are all the other chromosomes. This is called a karyotype. Remember that? I believe it is a question on your test. Hint, hint. So a karyotype, I'll write it on the board for, well, I don't know. Can I write on here? I don't know if I can write on here. Maybe not. Okay. Anyway, karyotype. It's in your old notes. And you have to draw, I believe, in your notes the just a different representation of the sizes of them. The X. This would be if you were a male. This one would be small. It would look like that. Okay. So you have the X chromosome is larger and the Y chromosome is shorter. So sex-linked inheritance was first observed by a person called T.H. Morgan, that dude over there, in the early 1900s at Columbia University. Now, Morgan's research provided final proof that genes are carried on chromosomes. And this is only 100 years ago, because you could trace a specific trait to a specific chromosome. And he used an organism called Drosophila melanogaster, or the fruit fly, the common fruit fly. I believe we've all seen fruit flies, maybe not in your home. Most likely everyone has, because when you bring home produce from the grocery store, you inevitably are going to bring home some fruit flies in that fruit, particularly bananas and tropical fruits. Maybe not necessarily apples and pears, but they'll still be there with those as well. But they're more of a tropical, they won't live outside in the cold, is what I'm trying to say. So more tropical. But since we are in Florida, subtropical, these guys are prevalent. But if maybe you've been in a grocery store and you've seen some fruit flies, just little tiny flies flying around the fruit, okay? And because of all the wonderful traits and the fact that these flies only have a very small number of chromosomes, okay, so in your notes, you have to draw a fruit fly in your notes. So I gave you very easy steps. So if you're bad at drawing, if you can't look at that picture and draw it well, then please feel free to use the 9 easy steps of how to draw a fruit fly, okay? And I'll give you just about a minute to do that. It shouldn't take you more than a minute. So that's the big box, the big rectangular box on page 17, where it says draw a fruit fly. Don't worry about coloring it in or anything right now. Just get the basics down. Doesn't have to be perfect. You should be at least on step 4 by now. I meant step 7. Ha! Step 7, not step 4. That's step 4. That's step 7. Okay. So look, if you're finished or while you're drawing, look at all the amazing traits. You've got traits for different kinds of antenna, big and small. Just remember the P's. The wrinkled, the round, the green, the yellow, okay? The purple flowers, the white flowers, the tall, the short, right? Here you've got different leg length, different body color, different eye color, wing size, wing shape, and I'm not sure what this is showing exactly. Some kind of pattern on the thorax or something. I'm not sure. I'm definitely eye color there too. I don't know why the eye color would be different. But anyway, lots of different traits. Easily recognizable, easy to determine. So this is just pretty much what Mendel did, except with fruit flies instead of peas. Okay, so you should be done with your drawing by now. So what are some reasons why Drosophila are well suited? Just like the peas, but now a little bit more complex. We're talking about sex-linked traits here, and we'll get to that more in a moment. Okay, so they have a very fast life cycle, 2 weeks. How long does it take for a pea plant to grow from a seed to a mature pea plant and then have flowers and then have fruit? It's longer than 2 weeks, okay? They produce large numbers of offspring. Fruit flies need very little food and space. They can grow in a little container like this. They just need some sugar water, pretty much. They only have 8 chromosomes, 4 pairs of chromosomes. So it's kind of easy to separate them out and see which genes are doing what. They have several easily observable physical traits, and I showed you those on that last slide. And it's very easy to tell male and female fruit flies apart. Okay, so all of those things make them wonderful specimens. Now, in college, if you go in the biological sciences or even medicine, you will take a class called genetics. And with that class comes a lab. And in that lab, you will most likely, like I did, do at least one experiment using fruit flies to determine genetic inheritance. So why are some traits carried only by the X chromosome and not by the Y chromosome? Right? So remember that the Y chromosome is much smaller than the X chromosome, okay? Well, I think this is where you're drawing them. Sorry, I said to draw them before, but this is where you're gonna draw them. Anyway, if you drew them before, that's great. It's the same kind of thing. Same picture there, that second box on page 17 of your notes that we're on. Draw and label. So just draw this one bigger, draw that one smaller and squished, okay? So some alleles on the X chromosome, remember there's one chromatid from mom and one chromatid from dad, one from mom, one from dad, okay? Well, actually, you're not gonna get that from mom. There are going to be matching alleles for the genes on both of these chromatids, right? And you're going to have a lot more on the larger X chromosome than you will the smaller Y chromosome. It's really kind of simple. So here's an example. So you have a chart at the bottom of page 17 with different genotypes. So we're going to be talking about fruit flies still, and eye color. So eye color, it turns out, is a sex-linked trait. That means the gene for eye color is carried on the X chromosome. The allele for red eyes is dominant, capital R, to the allele for white eyes, little r. Since eye color is sex-linked, we write its symbol next to the X. So if you ever see X and Y, you know we're talking about sex-linked traits. Genes that are found on the sex chromosomes. Sex-linked traits. That simple. Male or female? Well, is there a Y? No, it's female. Homozygous, heterozygous, or neither? We know that homo means the same. Those are the same. What's the eye color? Pretty obvious also. It's going to be red. We'll do one more, and then you're going to do the rest by yourself, okay? Female, again, because there's no Y chromosome. Definitely heterozygous, because they're different, capital R, little r. And the eye color, because R is dominant over white, it's still going to be red. So you got this. This is the same thing we've been doing, except we're talking specifically about genes that are carried on a sex chromosome, okay? All right, here's a problem. Or a puzzle, if you'd like. What are the results of a cross between a heterozygous red-eyed female and a red-eyed male? So what's the first thing we have to do? What are the gametes? What are the gametes that we're going to put on our Punnett square? Red-eyed, heterozygous red-eyed female. Heterozygous, capital R, little r. Red dominates over the white, so it's red-eyed, and it's a female. 2 X's. Some of you are probably already writing down the red-eyed male. It's going to be X and Y, but the gene is not found on the Y chromosome, so the red eye comes from the X chromosome. And so these are the gametes that you're going to put on both sides, okay? So the female is on top here, and the male is on the left. We are on page 18, so get that down there. Problem number 1. So when you combine these, you're going to see that you have 2 male, 50% chance of having a male, 50% chance of having a female, which is always the case, right? But you will have a 75% chance of having red eyes in your offspring and a 25% chance of having white eyes in your offspring. So 100% red-eyed females for the females are 100%. And the males are 50-50. Males, 50-50. Because the males are down here. Okay, problem 2. What are the results of a cross between a white-eyed female, so put that here, XX, and what are the superscripts? White-eyed, no big R's, and a red-eyed male. So put the female here and the male on the side. Don't wait for me. You know what you're doing at this point. Now fill in the blanks for the probability of the different offspring. And you're going to get 50% female, 50% male. Of course, we know that already. But what percent of females are red-eyed? 100%. What percent of males are red-eyed? 0. Wide-eyed, 100%. Okay? Make sure you have all your letters right. I know a lot of you, when I'm looking around the classroom, I see you have a hard time with your uppercase Y's and your lowercase Y's. So make sure that you are making that clear in your writing. All right. This is a lot of reading here, okay? But it's kind of like a background story, so it's kind of story time, okay? So we were introduced to this word hemophilia at the beginning of the semester, a couple weeks ago, when I had you use it in your creative writing story, your 6 emojis story, which some of you still need to hand in. Yeah, you. So it's also called bleeder's disease because the genetic disorder doesn't enable your platelets to clot your blood when there's a wound, either internally or externally. So let's learn a little bit about it, all right? We know it's a sex-linked trait. We're talking about sex-linked traits, okay? It's a recessive genetic disorder. So you have to have 2 recessive alleles to have it. You can, if you have 1 recessive allele and you're a girl, you can be a carrier. But the boy just needs 1 because it's not on the Y chromosome, okay? It's caused by the mutation on the X chromosome. So this mutation causes the body defective protein to clot blood, said that already. And so you essentially can bleed to death with not a paper cut maybe, but anything perhaps larger than that. You just won't stop. It won't clot. You won't scab up. It'll just keep bleeding. So you can imagine how dangerous that is. If a student, it's so dangerous that if a student were to be in a teacher's classroom, we have to be informed. The teacher has to be informed that the student is a hemophiliac so that we can take the proper measures. You know, if you slice your finger you cut your finger on a sharp piece of metal like a screw sticking out of the desk, normally we'd be like, okay, just go wash your hands and put a Band-Aid on it because you'll stop bleeding. But a hemophiliac will not stop bleeding, at least not right away. They would need something other kind of first aid to help them stop bleeding. If you have any pets, you might know what I'm talking about. Dogs, if you trim their nails too short, you have to put a special substance on their nails to stop them from bleeding. So, okay. So the Romanov family was a very famous example of this disease, this royal disease that spread through the families of royal people in Britain, Germany, Russia, and Spain, okay, across Europe. Queen Victoria of England, believed to have been the carrier of hemophilia, she passed the trait on to 3 of her 9 children. Her son Leopold died of a hemorrhage. Hemorrhage means bleeding. After a fall when he was 30. Her daughters, Alice and Beatrice, passed it on to several of their families, several of their children. Alice's daughter, Alex, married Tsar Nicholas of Russia. Oftentimes they would do that to solidify relationships. They would have children of different countries marry, okay? Then the son had hemophilia, family's entanglement with Rasputin, the Russian mystic, and their deaths along with the Bolshevik Revolution have been chronicled in several books and films. Have you ever seen the movie called Anastasia? About that. Not about the hemophilia part, but carried through various royal family members, 3 generations, and Victoria's son Leopold died from blood loss after he slipped and fell. Crazy. So that's how dangerous this is. Age 2, grandson, bled out, meaning all the blood came out until death, bled out. 32, 33, also 2 other grandsons. I can't imagine, I mean, back then living that long to 32 years old and not dying of this beforehand. Now, nowadays, people can live full lives as long as they are, know what they're doing and have first aid at hand, okay? So, continuing on, so from an early age, prone to prolonged bleeding, his family feared that he wouldn't make it through his first month of life. And then, so this geneticist at the University of Massachusetts was totally negative about the whole thing. Back then there wasn't much to do, and but the disease didn't kill him. However, he was murdered at age 13, along with the rest of the Russian royal family following the Russian Revolution. That's what Anastasia was all about. Her whole family was murdered, and she's the one who got away. But nobody really knows the truth. I think what it comes down to is there's just not enough, it's just too much of a cover-up from that royal family getting murdered. So imagine living through hemophilia and then your family just gets killed for some other reason. That's crazy. So anyway, long story short, how did hemophilia get transferred from one family to the other? And we're going to talk about that on the next slide. Okay, so when solving problems involving human sex-linked disorder like hemophilia, biologists use the letter of the disorder along with the sex chromosome, okay, to represent the defective allele. We would use H for hemophilia. So just like the red eyes in the Drosophila, the fruit fly, we're going to use a superscript, super above script writing, superscript, to represent what allele we're talking about, what traits we're talking about. Okay, so females who are heterozygous are carriers. A female who has the trait on one X, this is the recessive trait, you have to have 2 of them to have hemophilia. She would not have hemophilia, she would be a carrier for it, so that her children would have a chance of not having hemophilia and a chance of having hemophilia, depending upon which X chromosome went into the egg and was carried to, and fertilized, right? And here's a karyotype. That's how you spell the word karyotype. I would write that down. If there's not a space, write it down in the margin or something, because that word's going to be on your test. I know we had it in a previous unit, but this is what a karyotype looks like. It's just showing all the different chromosomes that exist in human cell, okay? And then the sex cells down here, the sex chromosomes down there. So, again, one more, I'll do the first couple, you're gonna do the rest by yourself. So, obviously that's not a male. It's homozygous. And is hemophilia involved on any of those chromosomes? On either one of them? No, it's totally normal. No, just normal. Not a carrier, not hemophiliac. Okay. Female, again, heterozygous? And do they have hemophilia? Do they have two little h's, two recessive alleles? No. Are they normal? No, they are a carrier. And when you get, okay, so this one, hemophilia, they're gonna have hemophilia. This one is a male, right? Heterozygous, obviously they have to be. And normal, but what's this guy's deal? What's this guy's deal? He only needs one to be hemophilia, to be hemophiliac. So I'm gonna let you think about that and discuss that, fill it out the rest yourself, okay? And one of those answers was neither hetero or homozygous. It was neither, because it was the male that was normal, okay? So I'll walk around and talk to you guys about that in a minute. So what is the chance of, so we're on the bottom of page 18 still. What is the chance of hemophilia in the children of a mother who is a carrier and a father who is normal in terms of hemophilia? So if they're a carrier, a mother who's a carrier, we just did this on the previous slide. So what would her genotype be? We just had that on the last slide. And a father who's normal, just X, it's just going to be X and Y, right? Nothing ever goes on the Y for hemophilia. So put them in their respective places on the Punnett square. Female, in this case, on top, male on the left. And fill in the blanks. So you're going to have normal female, a carrier female, a normal male, and a male with hemophilia. So what percent of the daughters are normal? 50%. Half of them are normal. Half of them are carriers. None of them are hemophiliacs. Because a female would need two recessive alleles, two little h's. What percent of the sons are normal? 50%. What percent are hemophiliac? 50%. Okay, so can the parents described above have any daughters who are hemophiliacs? And the answer is no. In general, are sex-linked traits seen most often in males or females? The traits seen, and that would be males, because males only need one. Females need two to be expressed. That makes sense? Males only have one X chromosome. All right, so we're on our last part here. We only have 2 slides left after this. This is called polygenic. Poly means many or multi. And genic means gene. So this is multi-gene inheritance. So unlike the traits studied by Mendel, Mendel didn't know about this. Many traits in both plants and animals do not appear in 2 contrasting forms. There are multiple. This is what I was talking about in the last set of notes. So in pea plants, you've got short and tall. That's it. In humans, you have this continuous variation of height, of all different heights, which makes life a lot more interesting. Imagine if there were just short people and just tall people. It's a little boring. It's good to have a mix-up. So it's called continuous variation over a wide range. Continuous variation. I know who these three are. Who's that? Who's that short-ish person? She's almost 5 feet. Other examples of traits that show continuous variation are, so this is on the last page. We should already have been there, but you're going to write down all 6 examples, okay? So I love this picture. This picture is awesome. This guy is so dark you can almost not even see him. There's a model, female model. I believe she's from Africa. I'm not sure, but her skin is really dark like that. It's almost, you got to look it up. Look up very dark skin model or something like that, and you're going to see her skin she has so much melanin. That's the pigment that humans have in their skin. And it's an evolutionary process. We could talk about more about that in evolution, but it really comes down to cultures of people who, or ancestries of people who developed in high solar regions. So particularly along the equator, right? And those regions around the equator, South America, Africa, Asia, all right? And North Pole, like in the Arctic region, because native Inuit or Eskimo, you might know the word Eskimo over the word Inuit, but those tribes are also, native people are also a darker skin color as well because of all the high reflectivity of the solar energy off of the snow. It's pretty neat, actually. So anyway, eye color, hair color, hand span, so the width of hands, okay? Intelligence, there aren't just low intelligent people and high intelligent people. Again, that would make a very bad world. Actually, like dystopia almost, right? So it's really good that we have a wide range of intelligences, and with each intelligence comes different gifts, right? Quite amazing, actually. So traits that vary in a continuous manner between extremes are not controlled by the alleles of a single gene, but by multiple genes. That's why, again, there are not just brown-eyed people and blue-eyed people. I have hazel eyes, so my eye color, and there's different shades of brown eyes as well, different shades of blue eyes, green eyes. Hazels are kind of greenish brown. So what is multiple gene inheritance? And this is the last part of our notes right here, is any group of genes that together they are expressed, okay, in a wide range of different phenotypes. That's just what multiple allele expression means, okay? Multiple gene inheritance. So that ends our notes for genetics.